we get in trouble without. I've been getting in trouble because I haven't been giving the people they do props for the songs. So I just got them up there so they won't call that.
No, for some reason I can hear mine through here. Yeah, echo.
Do you have your volume all the way down?
Yeah.
Mute yourself. Mhm.
Oh yeah, mute yourself on. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm just not gonna do it on my. Okay, I do. I have yours, but I got my own methods here.
Oh, that's fine.
That's the whole. That's what I'm hearing back. But
Oh, okay.
I don't hear that, man.
You see my song is froze. Yeah, I haven't put you up yet because we gotta have this while the music is playing, so I can get credits that you don't have. I just don't disappear now. Oh. I see you, but I don't see Dion.
You don't see me on it?
Mm-mm. See, I don't think you're gonna be able to go on your Facebook page and mine at the same time.
Just don't come on loud.
Do I have a number?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, it's a beautiful morning here on the corner of 21st and Main Street here in Little Rock, Arkansas. Hey, you heard the music. It is like the Dallas Foxy doing time. This is time for the workplace here on KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Hey, we got a great show going on for you today. We have actors and actresses from the play Fences in studio along with the producer, writer, Keith Harper. So we're gonna have a great discussion about this. But as always, in studio is the fierce, beautiful, vivacious co-host, the Reverend Dr. Denise Darnell.
Yeah. Grand Rising humans.
Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Denise. So, any announcements?
Yes, I do have announcement. Do you have, am I on? This is my mic. I just want to make sure that my mic is on over here. Am I muted over here?
Your mic is on.
Okay. I want to make sure I circle back to this contest for the children. Well, not children, but the children and young folks, that because the deadline is approaching fast. The poetry contest for students and young adults worldwide, announcing the Pulitzer Center's 9th annual Fighting Words Poetry Contest, open to K through 12 students and young adults ages 18 to 24 worldwide. The deadline is May 10th, 2026. So that's coming up soon. Participants can take action through their writing by finding local and personal connections to issues in 5 core focus areas: climate and environment, global health, peace and conflict, human rights and information, and artificial intelligence. Poets will choose any news story from the Pulitzer Center website and write a poem of any form, any length, or any language that includes lines from the story and responds to its themes and central issue. Again, the deadline is May 10th. That is coming up fast. If you need more information, you can call Charles at 501-372-6119. He'll put you in touch with me, or you can hit me up directly. Area code 228-236-7440.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay. I just have one announcement just to make. We are in Pledge Drive. KDF has been around in August for 41 years. We are sustained by pledges, donations, and a few grants, but we are basically sustained by you, the listening audience. We thank you for how you show up. We thank you for your contributions, and we thank you for your financial donations. So we have every pledge drive. We have what we call buy a watt.
What's one?
A plug right there. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be.
It.
Push it in.
I think so. Be.
Okay.
Is that it?
No, it's now. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It. I think it came up. Oh, but anyway, for $150, you get 20. You get 20, 60-second spots. There's 20 minutes of airtime for your business, or if you're an entrepreneur just getting started and you want to reach your audience. This is a great opportunity for you to do that. Even if you just want to buy some spots, just to vent about what you think things need to change, the things need to happen. Here's your opportunity. So just want to thank all of you who have already started pledging. Want to thank all of you who have already started donating. So we had I'm excited about this show. When last week, when I went and saw the play Fences, for those of you who have not seen the play or have not seen the movie, you need to get out and see this. It embodies everything that's going on in the lives of people, and it is awesome. Before I get started with that, I want to say this one thing. I got to get on my soapbox for this one thing. Yesterday, the Supreme Court of the United States struck down a provision in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1964. Remember, the Voting Rights Act was enacted because Black representation was being diluted. There were very few Blacks who could actually get into Congress or to the Senate. So they created this law that stated that you had to make Black districts for representation. Well, yesterday, because of this new because these laws were created to make an equal playing field and equal representation. Supreme Court took it out. In the minute the Supreme Court voted down that section, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama immediately went in and said, hey, we're going to take this Black district out. So if you don't think they're coming after your vote, you need to think again. And what's happening is going backwards to where Black representation is going to be so difficult to have. And not only on the national level, because once they do it, it's going to change. And remember, a few years ago, Arkansas changed its map to go from 16 primarily Black districts to 11. So if we're not careful, you're going to end up with no Black districts and no Black representation, not only in the national level, but the local level. Just want you to know that, and that we have to do something about it. So phone lines will not be open until around the bottom of the hour. I repeat, phone lines will not be open to around the bottom of the hour because I want to give our guests an opportunity to talk about not only the play Fences, but how they got started and how they embody the characters that they portray in Fences. And we have Belinda Devine, who plays Rose Max. We have Dion, who plays Troy. Max, I love Troy. Oh my God, I love Troy and his evolution. And like I said, we have Keith Hopper, who is the writer, producer,
Director of this, just director.
just direct
Of this.
of this.
But that's what we talk about, Fence.
Yeah. But just that production.
I keep telling you, I'm gonna be sitting there when you get your Tony, man.
Yeah, if I could be writing this, I would, but I can't take it. I can't take it.
The play was originally written by August Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And so the one thing I want to start out with is that I've seen Fences and several different iterations of Fences with 7 different characters, lead actors, and I've also seen the movie with Denzel Washington. But last week was different. And I believe, as me and my daughter who was there to play with me, I think one of the things is that when you see it on TV with Denzel, you go to, a theater where you see it, you feel like this is an actor or this is a person that, even though they're playing this character, they're still separate from me because I can't interact with them. I can't, it makes you feel like they're actually just portraying. What made it different for me is that I'm looking at the actors. I talked to the actors. I think me and Belinda had conversation as I was coming in, trying to get my popcorn every day. So you feel a closer connection. And so as the play unfolded, I could relate. I could feel that, hey, I think me and Denise said that it's kind of like a Roberta Flack singing the song, strumming my face with your fingers. You can feel it. You can feel like, hey, they're talking to me. And so that was a great experience. It was a different experience, but it was awesome. So
Just a bit of housekeeping for just a minute. First of all, Hotep is on the line wishing us life, prosperity, and health. So just a little bit of housekeeping. I know it's hard for us to not look at the person who's talking to us, but your audience is in your phone. It's in your phone. Tony is not your audience, so you don't want them seeing you. Okay. Yes, just keep looking.
I'm sure looking at Tony's head.
But all of y'all were. That's all I was like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So I'm gonna give each one of you just a brief second to introduce yourselves and talk about how you got into acting, and then we're gonna really get into the story of Princess Belinda.
Okay. Well, my name is Belinda Divine, and I always have to tell people that I've been acting my whole life. I used to sit in the picnic bench on the back of my house and charge everybody a penny to come and see me perform. So it started early, but but I did spend some time in the big city in Hollywood, and so I spent some time there. Was coached by some awesome, wonderful people there, and then I came back to be a mommy. Came back to Arkansas to be a mommy, and finished raising my kids because they were there with me for a while, but. So I decided to open up a theater here. So I had a theater a while ago, and a few things that happened where we had to close, but we were open for a number of years. And so I was doing background for a while, and now I'm coming back to the stage. I could not miss. I've done a couple shows here so far, but I could not miss doing Fences. Just great work, and you're talking about August Wilson. I mean, there was no way I was going to miss this one. So I appreciated Keith and Quentin, who trusted me. Keith almost reminds me of a cheerleader. Because, like, from the day that I walked in the door, he was just like cheering me down the hallway and then cheering me into doing it. So, and I appreciate them for just orchestrating this whole production and allowing us to be who we are on stage.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Dion Burns. I'm from a small town called Marktree, Arkansas. Yeah, and I started acting there. Third or fourth grade, there was a play. I still remember my one line that I had in the whole play. It was a Christmas play. And
What was it?
what a wonderful and interesting way to introduce his son.
That's a long one.
That's a long one.
That's a long one.
That was my line. I remember walking down the street with a friend of mine, just going over the line like, "What a wonderful and interesting way." And he kind of rolled his eyes. That's good, man. It's real good. I'm sure about the 50th time he got tired of it. But that's how I started. It was a Christmas play in Normandy Elementary School in Marktree, and from there, I went to Marion High School, moved, and did a lot of stuff with them. And so I've done we had remember America's Pride team, Say No to Drugs and all that. So we went around schools and doing all kinds of plays and skits. My most famous one there was Tommy the Clown. So you remember Homie the Clown from Color? Well, I decided to do Tommy the Clown. And so we did that and running around schools and say no to drugs. And if you do drugs, I'm gonna hit you with the sock like Homie the Clown did. And so from there, then UCA did some speech and theater competition through their program, through their to Atlanta. Did some my first movie work there at Drumline.
Oh,
But I didn't. I was in the background, but you see me. I got my fraternity jersey on,
okay.
and so they spotted that and shot me. That's why I put it on. You got to be, and that yeah. And I've done some film work and stage work and work with Keith. This is how I got to Fences. We traveled doing a play called Deep Greenwood, and it's about the 1921 Tulsa race riot massacre. And so we traveled that for how long? A couple
Wow.
Yeah. And he remembered me from that and called me and said, "Hey man, we're doing Fences. Uh, can you try out for Troy? I think you might be good for it." And so yeah, and that's been history ever since. And we
Okay, and so, Belinda, you said something that I think is so important, in the evolution of, just listening to you and Troy, you and Dion. So I believe that Black people, we are all actors. Yeah, we got to act every day. We got to play a role.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have to play a role, and I think that's the thing that Fences brings in is that if you allow yourself, you can see the role that's being played, that you can basically look at yourself and say, I understand. And so, how did each one of you, what part of you that you brought into the character? What part of Rose did Belinda bring in to that part?
All of it. Like all of it. Like I was, when you first start a show, you try to, embrace the character. And, I kind of felt like, oh, well, I can connect a little bit. I was totally all through Rose and didn't even see it until I started breaking down each and every piece of it. Like I understand it because it's present day, you know, um, as a woman, the things that she felt and having to stay balanced and having to support and having to give so much of yourself and then take the back road. Like I could see her in my family. I could see her in me, in my experiences. She's just all in me.
When as I watched the dialogue between you, the character Rose, and the character Troy, when it's found out that Troy had uh, a baby by Alberta, and that dialogue, I was sitting there like, man, they married for real. I know that. Hey, yeah, yeah. And what part of Troy did you bring in, Dion?
ooh I'll say it this way. Well, I mean, you have life experiences. We all grow up and we go through things and we have challenges. And I'm a father, and so wanting to be the best father you can be, despite all of your flaws and things like that. That's one thing I wanted to bring in. Reading and seeing the. So my first films for inspiration for the show was James Earl Jones when I saw clips of him doing it. And then later on, Denzel validated. And I've always been an August Wilson, back in school. One of my favorite things to do was a piece from the piano lesson. And so I've always loved his work. But for Troy, uh, he's such a flawed
Mhm.
person
Mhm.
and he knows it. And I think to me, that's a part of his humility, even though he didn't seem very humble, that through all his flash and his flair, he's still a human being. He still has these flaws. He knows he's insecure in many ways, and he knows it. And so I tapped into my own insecurities. I tapped into my desire to be a better father and things like that. And actually, the show has helped me to be more considerate and understanding of my son and what he's dealing with as he grows up. So, yeah.
I love it.
Really.
And so that opens up another question. Just listening, you talked about how you went to Atlanta, and you had been in different films and roles. You talked about that could mean your character, and but you talked about being in Hollywood, and so that brings us back to even what I said, talked about earlier about the Voting Rights Act. and how it's being gathered. So as Black actors, you know, trying to, you know, and Fences Rose talks about her dream. You know, don't you think I had dreams? And Troy is trying to deal with his dream of what didn't happen.
Mhm.
You know, so personally, going through your journey to where you are in Fences, you know, in your life, how does that play? How does that play? I mean, do you think about, you know, I could have been this in Hollywood, or I could have been this, you know, on the stage.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how does that play in?
Oh boy. Just you mean as far as my personal,
Yes.
personally, man, that was hard. I married first and did the whole rose thing. I gave up the life and everything and the dream to be married, to be a wife and to have children. And just not to get into that, but when that did not work out, I thought this is my last chance. And I think I was 30 years old at that time. And I packed my kids up and I moved to Hollywood and said, if I have to eat beans, that's what we're gonna do. But I'm gonna do this. And we stayed up there for about 9 or 10 years. And I started off doing stand-up comedy. Somebody said, you need to get out there. You know, you do a lot of different things, get out there and do it. And so I did stand up with some of the greats that are out there now. They wanted me to stay in it, but that's not what I went there for. And wound up doing a number of things. But when it came, I had to make a decision when my oldest daughter became a teenager. And I had made a decision to be a mother. There was a lot that went into it, but I decided to be there for her because she needed me. And we moved back here so that we can have, you know, a village and everything else. But it was difficult to give that up. And so when she turns to him and says, don't you think I had dreams, that I had hopes? You know, sometimes, you know, your kids, they're your kids and they're not supposed to be in adult business and stuff like that. But, you know, I look at them sometimes like, don't you think I had hopes and dreams, you know? That I wanted to do other things, but I gave that up, you know, to come here. You know, not so much gave it up because I'm doing it right now, but gave it up in the way that I saw myself doing it. So yeah, I identify with Rose 100%.
Me, I felt that way early on, when not that I gave up, you know, and it's not, you know, it's I've taken several paths in life. So I started acting young, then I went, you know, I worked in the school system sometimes, and I traveled overseas and lived for a little while. And so, uh, you know, there are several paths that I've taken. When it comes to acting, what's interesting is all of my real work has come in Arkansas.
Mm.
And so I got an agent, and you know, until he passed recently, a couple of years ago, he really pushed me out there. And so I worked for a company here, did fitness for a company here, and this is what I like about fences is you know, it gives a man's perspective what he's going through, the stresses, because people don't often care about men's stresses, and especially black men's stress. We're supposed to be Superman all the time, and if we're not, then we're not. Uh, and so I was going through a stress trying to take care of a lot of things to the point that it affected my physical health. At that point, I made a decision. You know, I need to be alive and healthy for my son, but also do some things that I can enjoy life so that, you know, I can be more present. I'm not frustrated. And so I got back into acting, actually for my son to do some things. And so uh, with that, I got a lot of opportunities. So at first I felt like, oh, I wish I could have. Hollywood came here. I worked on a TV show set for 7 months. And I had plenty of Hollywood just there. I like Arkansas a little bit. And so, but Arkansas has given me more movie opportunities. I work with more people that I've watched on TV living here in Arkansas than I have going to Atlanta or anywhere else.
One of the things that you know, and we stood outside and we talked until the doors closed. And we, you know, we stood outside and talked. And I, you know, they said art imitates life, or life imitates art. And talking to my daughter late on that night, and she said something that that really just, that touched me. And she said, Dad, I see Troy in you.
Mm.
I said, what? She said, how you deal with us as children, as you deal with us, said, as you deal with trying to teach us certain things, but also how you give in to us on certain levels, and it was so fascinating, and I think that's what uh, drew me in to this play, this version of Fences more than anything, because like I said, I could actually see it. I can actually relate to it. And so it's so important that to the listening audience that you get out and you see fences. You get out and try to uh, try to personalize or center yourself in what's going on and then what's going on in your life. Denise, I don't want to set you out. I'm sorry. I just been going. Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I really want to get to the conversation about duty versus responsibility. Is that what
Oh,
I
yes.
really want to get there. So I just want to ask one question so we can get there. But when I was watching last night, because I was at the Saturday matinee and then I was there again last night. And it wasn't until last night that I noticed Troy's character, Dion's character, Troy. It was so easy for you to look at Bono and be like, I love you, man. I love you. And y'all, y'all did the hug, y'all did the blah, blah, blah. But when your son said, do you like me? You were like, do I like you? I ain't got to like you. Don't nobody give me no. And I was like, it seems to me that if there was one black king in the room that I was going to encourage with my love, it would have been my own son. And so I just wondered, do you have any response?
Me, okay. No. I like that, and that's what I think. That's why I think August Wilson was genius in his writing. That happens. You ever notice how sometimes parents are tougher on their children and real easy and lighthearted on people outside of the house? It's like it, I'm not sure why to do because I don't treat my son that way. Uh, but I think there's a fear that if he's not tough on his son, then his son is going to turn out soft. So he worried about people like him or not. He wants his son to survive. He knows how ugly the world is, and I think a part of him, like a lot of parents who don't understand love fully, think that if anybody's going to show him how to be tough and how to handle this world, it's going to be me. And I think a lot of times it's overdone. It's an insecurity. It's a fear that if I don't drive it home all the time, then you know I'm going to fail him. And so I think that's what it is more than anything. Bono was his saving grace. Probably saved him from some stuff in prison. Helped him learn how to play baseball. That's his boy, and he can't discipline Bono. So I think you my friend, and you have to have that something that somebody that you can be lighthearted with all the time. That's why he ended up going to Alberta, because Alberta was separate from everything else he knew, so he could just
Be him.
be for him. And I think that was what Bono offered, minus the extra. I think that's what Bono was for him. But then this woman came along who was different. So I think that's what it was.
And I think that's probably a particular feeling for Black folks, always trying to make sure that their children are going to be safe in the world. And so we have to be so tough. And so there's violence in our home and all those things. So I appreciate you saying that. But okay, like I said, I wanted us to get to love and duty. Cause baby Rose, I felt like it was duty. I felt like a lot of stuff you was doing was duty and obligation, and the Black queen that was with me beside me, when you said that line, you said the baby gonna have a mother. Then you said, but you is womanless. We was like, bounce high, bounce high.
Was that you who said that?
Yes.
No, we heard.
I said it out loud.
There's a lot of people wanted me to step up
Baby,
like
I was
way
waiting.
before then.
Like, wait a
They
minute.
wanted me to way before then, and it was a challenge. Backstage, Dion and I debated. I say debate. We debated often.
On what?
On the narcissism
Uh-oh.
of
There it is. That's that word.
of Troy, and how and I know this play was written for Troy. It was written for
Yeah,
Troy to show his perspective, but what is always and usually missed is who's in the background and who is holding you up. And even in their dispute, when he brings the baby and he tells her that he's got this new baby, he's not worried about how she feels. He's worried about how it's making him look. So he starts talking about baseball, and he starts talking about all kinds of things. And in the end, when it comes to the height of that scene, he's worried about, what did she say? I don't give. It was so much, like you just told me, you destroyed my life. And just everything that we've been working together, it was only felt by you, not me. And forget about the fact that we both were going through it. And then on top of that, you treat me like a child. I'm a man, I'm talking. There's little things that are in there that are missed by so many that women have had to deal with. I am not a child, and so no, I would tell my child when they're talking too much or out of line, hey, I'm talking right now. That means you be quiet. But that's how she's being treated in this whole situation. But we have to nurture Troy and how he feels. And so, it took a lot for me to hold back.
Listen,
A lot of
it
different
took a lot for us to watch
emotions
it.
in there. He's always talking, and he always has to.
It's always
get-
baseball language.
But it's always baseball language, and he always has to have somebody to confirm what he's saying. Isn't that right, Rose? Isn't that right, Bono? Isn't that right?
You
Because
see
you
this
lie
woman
so-
right here, Bono?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you lie, because and all of that stuff, we just push that by because he's a man.
The massacre.
And because I want a husband.
And I want a husband. Right. And so, but when she said she loved him, when she
With
met
her
him,
whole
she was
heart.
like, she did. She
But
was
she
like, he's
loved him
fine
because she
too.
thought that he was going to help her
She
reach
thought
her goals.
this
As
was
because remember when you
together.
said you were like, what'd you say? I planted myself in you.
You,
Right?
yes,
And then you said, I'm waiting to bloom.
Yes.
And I
Ain't
didn't take
blown yet.
18 years for me to figure out, but I stayed with you.
Yeah.
Because I want a
Because I
husband.
honored you as my
Oh, that's what
husband,
you did.
and that was the only way I was going to survive as a wife, was to honor the relationship, honor what we committed to.
Right. And see, and what's beautiful about the writing is that you start in the background, but you come to the front.
Yeah.
And you stay in the front. And that's the way it
Yes,
looks.
but she only comes to the front as an quote unquote angry Black woman. She doesn't get to come to the front in strength and power, standing firm on who she is. I gotta come because I gotta go off on you because you done brought this mess to my house. Now you got this baby. You want when he had the audacity to ask you to take care of the baby, I was like, God, you is too much, Mr. Good Stuff.
Yeah. I had to hold back a lot of me just to,
But you
just
did
speak
pour,
to-
but you did pour out. You
Yeah.
did that now.
Yeah.
You did that.
But she poured from her heart.
Mm.
So let me say.
That's good. Yeah,
I'm
that's
a
good.
minority when it comes to them. It's all men on the
Ah,
show. So
okay,
then
okay.
it's all men and they never
Queens anyhow.
Okay.
Tony, say something.
Okay, Belinda / Rose, you don't cross the line. You don't cross the line.
I know Rose ain't crossing no line.
Before we go any further, I know there's been a couple of phone calls in, but I did not want to stop the conversation. We are going to take some calls, but also there are three tickets, 4 tickets,
I got one on.
Oh,
3 tickets that will be given away. And the question,
yes. Oh, I have the question. So yeah, the question is, if you've been listening to the conversation, you probably already heard this, but who was the first Black actor to play Troy on Broadway?
If you can answer that, whoever y'all, if 4 people,
I don't know why we always gotta put restrict. Look, if y'all just call in and say I want a ticket, we'll tell you who it is. We trying to get them to the show. If they say they don't know, then they not gonna call in. They not gonna get the ticket. Just call in. We'll give you the ticket,
We'll give you a hint.
and we'll let you know.
We'll hint you through it.
so that's a lot. That was a lot to unpack in that conversation. I think one of the things. Caller, you on there?
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, Sister Denise, Brother Toney, and to your guests. I was on the way up as well.
Hey, Ezekiel.
What's up, man?
This is Ezekiel.
Oh, you want the ticket? Okay. Yes. Yeah, I got it. I got all of that. I got all of that. Okay, so do you know, Ezekiel, you probably know who the first person was to play Troy in Fences, do you?
I have not been to a place since Claire, No Place to Be Somebody. I saw those off Broadway.
Oh.
The last time I saw her. And then I saw a play at, over at the Lasted Tech Auditorium here a couple of years ago. But I wouldn't be able to tell you who it was. I can take a guess.
Take a guess.
James? Would it be James?
Morgan Freeman.
Okay, take one more guess. Starting with James. Starting with James. Well done. James, well done.
Think Driving Miss Daisy. You had something right, but think Driving Miss Daisy, the other guy.
Oh, okay. Well, all I know is that's just named Black Denzel Washington.
He said, I'm just gonna name the black
And you
people.
know what? That'll work. That'll work.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
You're not wrong, but you ain't right. But that'll work.
All right, man. You got a ticket to see Fences tonight.
It has to be tonight. Remind you.
Yeah, it has to be tonight, 7:30 p.m. because the rest of the run is sold out. So it has to be tonight, 7:30 p.m.
I won't be able to tell.
Oh.
Well, if you know somebody that
Tell him to call in.
want to go, call in, or you can, can that person use his ticket?
Tonight, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to know somebody want to go, just let them know. We already know that you're not gonna be able to make it, but they can use your name and they'll get the ticket.
I think he.
All right, thank you so much.
But then what if 3 more people calling?
Caller, you on there? Caller? Caller, you on there?
Come on, y'all. Call on in.
Answer the
Get these
question.
tickets.
Somebody can answer the question. I couldn't.
Yeah, some man.
Caller, you on there?
Yeah, this man from Church Master Tony Davis called in for a ticket.
Hey, what up, Tony?
Acapulco. Who?
Who is that?
No, what?
Say the name again.
Yape Koto.
Okay. I don't know who that is. Okay.
Oh, okay, so I guess that's not the right
Oh, you
Right.
Your fat cola.
No, the question was who's the first Troy on Broadway in 1987?
That's my guess. Oh, that's my guess.
You still get the ticket. That's not right, but you still get the ticket. You still get the ticket. That's not right, but you still get the ticket. You still get the ticket.
It's for tonight, though. It's for tonight.
And I missed the name. What's the guest name that you got on the show? If I may ask.
You said the guest?
Yeah, it's Belinda Devine and Dion.
Deion Burns and Keith Harper.
Hello. I can't hear y'all.
Probably because, yeah, I can see why. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Deion Burns playing Troy Maxson, Belinda Devine playing Rose Maxson, and Keith Harper, the director of Fences. Yes, this production.
How do I get my ticket? Do I become my station?
I'll call you.
I should appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
So we got one more left then.
You got one ticket left. Call you on there. Can you turn your radio down? Can you turn your radio down? Hello?
We told y'all it's a community radio.
Yeah.
We don't have nobody screening the car.
One ticket left. All right.
So
One ticket.
call you on there.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Sound like a nigga.
This is Denise Whitfield. Did anybody call me yet?
We got one ticket left, Dr. Whitfield.
Okay, so James Earl Jones.
Yeah. That's the answer.
That's it, yes. I want to keep listening.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's it.
So special, thank you to Ezekiel and to Chessmaster Tony Davis and to Dr. Nika Whitfield for calling in and getting those free tickets for the show tonight. We are super excited that you will be able to see this. You don't want to miss it. Tonight is the only day that you can come at 7:30, and it's at the Actors Theater of Little Rock in the basement of Quapaw Quarter United Methodist Church.
So going back to the conversation.
Going.
Back to the conversation. Listening to Troy, the character Troy, talk about using terms in sports, using terms, basically from how he grew up and what he learned. And then you're looking at the character Rose, and a lot of what is happening is what they were taught and how they looked at duty, how they looked at love. And it's so amazing when with especially men, especially Black men, because I think either we have embodied sports or we have embodied this false notion of manhood, and that's where we stand. We won't move. And when Troy tells Corey, "Hey, you're in the batter's box now." And so we teach as men, a lot of Black men, we teach our children, especially our young men, that hey, you got to we make them play sports because it's going to make them tough. You got to be hard. You got to know how to hit the line. You have to score the touchdown. Different things like that. And so to watch this interplay, it is so amazing because, like I said, you can find yourself because those are things I did as a parent. Those are things I told my son. But then you go to the flip side and you see, and I understand a lot of Black men don't understand the role of that Black woman.
They understand it. They understand it to be we submissive to you because you're the head of the household. They understand it just fine.
Yes.
I don't even think it's about that. I don't think it's about that.
Of course not, Black man.
Well,
Thank
okay.
you.
Hold on now.
I'm so glad you're here.
Well,
Of course you don't.
a Black woman, let me say this. So much of what's ingrained in Black men and in Black women is what they were taught and how they were trained. And so when you look at Rose and you look at Troy, Rose is feeling this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I'm going to give it all into what I'm supposed to do. But if Troy would have realized, which was hard for him to do because he's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so it's because there's nothing there to say, this is not the way it's supposed to be. And so you build a fence. And when you build that fence, you're trapping everything inside. Nothing is able to get out.
But I don't think that's what Troy was doing.
Yeah.
I don't think that he was saying, "Oh, dude,
Yeah. Was he trained to go out and sleep with another woman?
Yes, I
And
think
was
so.
he trained to hurt Rose
Yes.
at any cost? Because we
Yes.
deal with that right now. She's tough. She's a Black woman. She can handle it. Now, if it was reversed, he would have left. we're
Absolutely.
supposed to
Might
take
would
it.
have been ready to kill you and all
And
kinds of
everybody
things.
else.
Yes. But I don't think that
Very
he was-
emotional.
I don't think that he was doing what Troy was doing what he was conditioned and programmed to do. Troy was doing what he wanted to do. Because even when he says to his son, Corey, you in the batter's box, that ain't his sport. Corey is football. So you can't even get out of yourself enough to honor what your child wants to do. And you won't let him do it because of what didn't happen to you. Everything was centered around Troy.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in our home.
Do we have a chance to respond?
I didn't know y'all wanted something. I didn't know they wanted something. Look, just sit there and be silent.
Before we get started, I'm gonna let you know now. You got to come back next Thursday.
This sound like the church. Let the women be silent. Ain't that what it sound like? Let the women be silent. Go home.
Every culture, yeah.
Go home and talk to your man. Y'all can't talk.
Yes. And go to church. Tell it to God. And what's the color purple?
But
Ain't nobody gonna listen to you but God.
But
You know.
But let me just say this. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Let me just say this though. I also saw the evolution of Rose in the way that you started dressing and wearing your hair after Troy brought you the nonsense in your
There
house.
you go.
And now it's time for you to go to
party's
church.
over.
Baby, you put on that dress that's we was
party
over there
is
talking about, baby, thick thighs save lives. We were like, okay, you see her in that dress. Now he wanna know where you're going.
Where you
Now
going?
he wanna know what
Don't
time.
worry about where
And you
I'm
were like,
going.
oh, now you wanna know.
Because you knew this in the beginning, you just
And
thought
it
you had the upper hand.
it didn't-
That's why
it
you
didn't bother
performed the
you one bit.
behavior.
Can we respond?
Yes, please.
Respond.
I think that's the brilliance of August Wilson.
Yes.
His work is so honest
And so layered.
that you can defend both sides easily, or you can attack both sides depending on, where you stand. But it's honest. And so you got to see everything about Troy, everything that he did. But you also got to see the inside, why he did what he did. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, he was wide open. And so I think that's a part of the brilliance of it, so that we can still have these conversations and you can see this stuff still goes on today. That's how timeless he was with it. And so he touched on things that are perpetual, that are eternal. We will always have these things. Now, I think, and my favorite Bible verse is that all you get and get understanding. And so I think that's what August Wilson wrote with I think he wants people to try to understand both sides. And so what we can do with this is we always knock heads. This is what women do. This is what men do. But we all know everything that we do is based on who we are as individuals. The way we act, Rose, if she was a different person, probably would have left from the beginning, or she stayed. Troy, if he was a different person, probably would have done a lot better to her, but he was honest about these are the situations that happen. We all know, men who had other families, and so that was a part of what before we react, this is what happened. I'm not, but I can see the wheel turning. It's something coming back, but we all do these things to some degree. There is a demographic. There are women who stay. There are women who cheat to faithful men.
Absolutely.
It happens. And so this is one story to get everybody to look at a bunch of stories. This one story, like you said, you relate. I relate in my way, trying to be a better father. I'm more sensitive as a father because I see my mistakes, my errors. There are a lot of women who see Rose's error. That's why they yelled out about time. Why you take so long? And so that's the brilliance of August Wilson, to get everybody to look at this honestly. He didn't pick a side. He put it all in there.
It's two things I want to say real quick. Caller, I'm sorry. I know the phone's been lighting up, but the conversation is just so fluid, and I really don't want to break the conversation, right now. So I do apologize for not answering. It's not like I'm ignoring you, but this conversation is just it is so awesome. And so you use the word brilliance. When you look at this play by August Wilson, because this this story can be, you can see this 100 years from now, and you can still see, you can still find yourself. When you throw in the fact of society, the norms, what is acceptable by men and women, what the narcissism of men, the authoritative ideals of men, the submissiveness of women, you can see all of that. The one thing that I enjoy is at the end, you see this transformation. You see the transformation of Rose. You see the transformation of Corey. You see the transformation of the other son. I can think of
Alliance.
You see this. Now, the one thing that I saw that kind of, it's hard for me to explain. So in the end, when all of a sudden Troy is bathed in his life, he has his baseball uniform. It's like, okay, I've reached my dream. This is where I'm supposed to be. And so in that moment, it's almost like, okay, so all your BS is all gone now. So now we're supposed to look and say, okay, we're where you are. And I think Corey says it well when he comes and he's like, I ain't going to the funeral. I ain't going to Rose. And no, you want to respect, you respect, it'll be disrespectful. And Corey like, no. And and then he starts to interact with his sister,
But before you leave that point, I think this is a very valid point that I want to make about Troy coming out and now realizing his dream. He's dead. And that's a lot of what happens to Black folks in particular. You're supposed to keep on living, keep on losing, keep on having deferred dreams that are deferred. Because one of these old mornings, and it won't be very long, you're going to look for me and I'll be gone. And so now when I get to heaven, everything is going to be hiding. And so, listen, we deserve it on this side. That's what we deserve. So I just wanted to say that to you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
So
Deserved it that way.
So,
Thank you.
like I said, callers, I do apologize. I just think.
I can take you back to where you were though. You said then he started talking to his sister. This was
Yeah. So I
his
didn't want to
sister.
break the flow, but I think I agree with you, Denise, in that aspect, and I think that's something else that all this threw in the brilliance of this stories threw in is that all the struggles, all the difficulties, all these ups and downs, all these things. And now, when I'm dead, everything is going to be okay. And I think what August was trying to say, why are you waiting till you die to change these things? Or why do you wait till the tragedies are going on to try to change these things? At some point, because I think there was a conversation between Bono and Troy where Bono was asking him, you need to stop this. You need to leave that woman alone. You got a good woman at home. Why can't you stay at home?
Yeah. Well, I like that. And that was like I said, the brilliance of his writing, but also well played by David House, who's playing
Yes.
Bono in the play. It is that he was, and I think that's what people ignore Bono. We're so busy looking at Troy and how bad a man can be. Bono gives us how good a guy can be.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And so, like, to me,
Y'all quiet now.
No. I said absolutely. But what happened? Troy wasn't studying him. Troy wasn't studying nobody else.
Hold on again.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this one call and keep it all back.
all right.
Call, you got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, good morning, dear.
Okay.
You all for your information. I hope it helps you better. Yes, brother, you said it right when you said we all playing a part in life. Now, the problem here with that, we don't write the script. Most people don't even know what the education system comes from in this country. So we playing far, but I'm more than convinced you don't have to stuck for yourself, somebody else trying to find myself. Once you do that, you're shifted with you can go and die if you want to. That don't mean you got to be the president. Just get in your own lane and move.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to be in my lane. Thank y'all.
Okay.
And I thank all the people who do good help their people.
Thank you.
And I just want to say this. We were talking about Tony. You said now when he dies, everything becomes okay. And again, that is only for Troy's life. If you believe in heaven in that way, only his life is good because we still got Raynell that does not know, I don't know what they're gonna tell her about her mama, but she does have a mother, but she doesn't know her real mother, if you call it that, biological mother, bio mom. And then so you still got roles while you dead raising your child that you had on the outside. You still got a strained relationship with Corey. Because whatever happened between y'all, he's gonna carry that into his relationship. And then you got a strained relationship between Corey and Ray now because they didn't grow up together because Corey left because you were so off. And so that it doesn't make it better for the rest of us who are still here. So if you say that August Wilson is trying to get us to focus on these issues now, then that's what we need to do. Focus on them now and stop waiting for it to get better when somebody go to heaven or hell.
It's a great show, and we hope y'all come.
So, no, this is, I love it because these are the conversations I really think that he was meaning to have, to force, because this, it's a real look into generational curses. And they're generational curses, generational because they seem never ending. Why do they never end? It's not just because there is a bad man at the center. It could be anything that creates it. There are mothers who abuse their families.
Absolutely.
And so, this is one story. But like I said, it's one of those things where even now, to this day, how many decades after he wrote this, that you have so much passion in the way you speak? Why? Because it's something that's still going on.
And we still live in a patriarchal society.
And it's not even just patriarchal, because like I bring this up, there's also a very common saying that says, mama's baby's daddy's maybe. It's not coming because it didn't happen. There were a lot of men who stayed and helped raise children that were not theirs. And so it happens. But this is a generational curse.
But I think that it's easy to do that though, because we do this a lot because the story, the fences is about Troy. So it's not that we're saying that women don't do these things, but that's
Hold on, one second. Let me get it. So do y'all, what is your time this morning?
oh, we probably it's 10:01.
What is your time?
I'm good. It's about 11:45.
I'm good.
I'm good too. Let's do it.
Okay. I'm gonna do something.
This must come to court now.
Oh!
Bring this to the table.
I'm gonna do something I'm not supposed to do. That I get on most of the DJs about this, but since we don't have a paid program, come on after this, we're gonna keep this conversation going.
Oh!
So that's what I'm saying. So
Before we start the conversation, I do have to go.
the station identification.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, hey, you listen to an extended version of the workplace.
Hey, let's go.
With the cast director fences. So we're gonna play a few spots, and then we're gonna be back on the as soon as these spots want to play.
Hi, this is
Denise,
Denise Sports Center.
can I
You're
get-
listening to KABF.
We still recording.
In Little Rock, the voice of
Tell me, do it.
support for KABF.
He said,
This is
Please.
conversation is work interruption.
Oh, my brother called. My brother, he said the name, James Earl Jones. He said,
He deserves to take it.
yeah, he's in Florida.
Oh.
Yeah, these conversations went on
Oh,
before we started.
Hey, we're back on the extended version of the workplace with the cast. Two of the cast members from the play Fences that is playing at Qual
Methodist Church.
and with the writer, with the director, Keith Harper. I keep saying writer, the director and producer Keith Harper. So in between the commercial break, there has been a ongoing, deep conversation about the characters, but more importantly, about what's going on, how men and women relate, how they look at each other, and some of the issues that go on, especially with in the Black community. One of the questions I want to
Wait,
ask.
no. I want to go back to where we were before the break because you said, give me a minute. We had to do the break. And so I wanted to go back to what Troy was saying because as but Dion. My bad. That's how you know when the acting was good. That's how you know when the acting is good because you can't tell the difference. But what Dion was saying when we were talking about Troy, and then we were talking about the fact that Troy was unfaithful. Troy brought this baby into the home and all of those kinds of things. And then you said, well, women do that too. It's not only that. See, that happens a lot where I feel like you want to deflect. Nobody made any statements about what women will do and what women won't do, but the conversation was about Troy. So let's center Troy in the conversation. But when it gets uncomfortable, when you are being held responsible, when you are being held accountable, now you go, but wait a minute, women do this.
Let me do it.
Okay, no, let me
find something.
let me respond to that because yes, it was focused on Troy, but it went from Troy to Troy, men. So and this is also what happens is we take a flawed person and then we attribute, and men do this to women too. I'm just saying it happens on both ends. We take a person, we see an example of something that we really don't like, and then we say, and this is from what we hear from the men's side is, well, this is how men act. This is how men, and you may be talking to a man that doesn't act that way. And so now I got to prove that I'm not the type of dude that you hate right here. Is you talking to me like I'm the one who slept and had the baby. And so it's like, it's not men, just like it's not one woman. Rose doesn't represent every woman. She represents a demographic of women who've gone through it. Troy represents that demographic of men who do that type of thing. And a lot of times there are men who don't do it. A lot of men who don't do it, who have to suffer at the hands of, it's just like, Troy took his stuff out on his son because of what his father, the way his father acted. There are mothers who do the same thing. We do this thing where we pass down. And what I said wasn't a deflection. It was just saying that, what I just said. Troy doesn't represent all men. There are men who rescue, care for, take care of, and love women faithfully. And there are women who do the same thing for men.
But I think at the top of the show, Toney said that some of the things that we do, it's about conditioning and programming.
Right.
That's what enables us to bring other men and other women into the conversation because of the conditioning and the programming. I don't know anybody who thinks that there's an absolute.
But when in the argument you say, well, men do this, they're going to be a man who say, I'm not this man. And we have to deal with that. And so, and I'm not defending men. What I'm saying is, no, I'm not. No, because if you listen, what I said is I like and I don't believe in zodiac like that, but as a Libra, I like balance.
I don't believe in it, but I don't know if it was Malcolm X or if it was Muhammad Ali. But remember in the interview that they had, he said if there's 1,000 racist white people in front of them, and you got 10 that aren't, how am I supposed to decipher between that? We're talking about statistical. We're talking about what we commonly run into, and the fact that we live in a patriarchal world. That country world. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about men, we're talking about what we're running into. So if you want to say, are there some? Yes, there are.
Right, and that's the whole point. Now, these are men that you are you running into them? These are the type of men that because there are women who haven't run into those. Yeah. And so what we're talking about here is
if you can say men in general and just say men, and we're supposed to understand that, then I can easily say, well, women do this, women act like this, and I know some women who don't act like
So
that.
you live in a matriarchal world.
No, I live in a world where I don't care what you are, if you're a good person or a bad
There you go.
person.
We're in an equal world.
No, I didn't
There
say
you go. That's
It
what
does matter, because it does matter. Your gender does
It does
matter.
matter.
You see how the words have been placed into my mouth?
That's not true.
It's been planted.
It's been planted.
So here's the thing, and I think we all can agree on this part, and like going back to what we said about the brilliance of August Wilson and how he wrote this to where it's timeless. It just, you can have this conversation, like I said, 100 years from now. So when we look, and I agree I agree both of you. I agree with on both sides of the conversation. I think that sometimes we have a hard time doing is looking at the conversation, looking at society, looking at reality, looking at these things and saying, yes, that's what I loved about the play. I could see both sides. Whether I agreed or disagreed, I can see both sides and I can understand both sides. And I think that's one of the things that happens a lot of times is that we want to pick sides. We want to pick one side or the other instead of saying, listen, I'm just trying, if I can give you a story that I can understand, I can open my mind to try to understand. There's some people who won't. Yes. But if you're willing to open up and listen, and at the end of the day, if I can listen and I can understand, then that can be a change. That's what I like about what's going on with this conversation now. Because I listen to all this. Because every one of us know somebody that's in that plays the character in Fences. We know. In my family, I know the relative that went out and got another woman pregnant, and now that child is being raised by the wife. I know the parent or the person who tries to beat hardness into that child. I know the mother who compensated for that child, because you look at Rose, the character Rose, and when when the one son I can't, Lion, when he was like, the first thing she said, "Oh, get that boy that money. Get that boy that money." Well, Troy is trying to say, you know what? No, you need to go out and earn your money. You can't keep coming. You don't live here anymore. You're supposed to be out on your own, but you keep coming back. I know that feeling. I got children. You're on your own, but you keep coming back asking for money.
And you know that that's not Rose's son, right?
Lions is not.
Lions is not.
Lions is not son. Corey is her son.
Corey is my son. Yeah. So she just took him on.
Yeah. Again.
And we know people who do this.
Yeah. Call you on there.
Thank you so very much. This is a talk show. I really enjoy it. Systemic oppression of a people like never before experienced in the world, as we talked about. As we know, it results in confusion and an overwhelming separation of family culture. Someone mentioned mama's baby, dad's maybe. It's also all saying mama's little no, dad's little maybe so. So these are the things that we all experience in the so-called black experience in America. And it's nothing new to any of us to have a family where the first baby that she had was someone that she didn't get along with, and we ended up with that child, even if we didn't adopt him through the court system, but we raised him. And that happens to every other family in America. And from what I've seen in the black experience, every other family in America. And so we continue to be confused about just how it happened, because someone mentioned it was socially engineered. Socially engineered means that it was done intentionally by those in authority and power. We didn't have the power, we didn't have the authority, so it was done to us and on us. Yeah, we can get away from it, but it's easier said than done. I sure do want to see this picture. I got something to do with this team, and it has to do with resources. So I'm going to have to come out of my pocket and pay to see it whenever I get a chance to. But I enjoy this conversation. But remember, this is nothing new. Everybody's got family members that had a baby before they got married. If they didn't, they got their head in the sand because they go around saying, well, we all got our family secret. It ain't no secret that they was engineered to be like that. My dad told my folks that he'd rather be a lamppost in Chicago than the mayor of Little Rock, and left a wife with 3 children who went to be with him and decided to come back here and go to school and finish her life without my dad. And I'm not mad at him about that. He wasn't the only one. Chicago was full of people from the South that had family down here, but they lived up there. Detroit was the same way. In Chicago, everybody was trying to get away from this dirty South. People don't realize just how dirty and low down this South was. You had people in Mississippi was black, but none of them were in the legislature. None of them were doing what they were supposed to do to make the community a better place. And here they are today, taking all the black votes and putting them in a position where they're ineffective. We still are resulting in this racist system that results in this confusion and overwhelming black experience that results in people like the ones you're talking about on this program. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. I really enjoy this conversation. And thank you so much for this call, Mr. Toney.
Thank you.
Hey,
That's why I contribute to KABF. I hope the folks who are listening, if they don't give no more than just $10, will come and dedicate their whatever they have as far as generosity to your station and to our station, the people's station. Thank you once again.
Ezekiel, please call me right now. I'm not going to answer, but I need your number. Please call me right now. Okay, so I just want to say, I want to respond to Ezekiel. I'm so glad that he talked about the experiences being human experiences, where you have men or women or spouses or partners who are unfaithful. That's a human experience. When you have strained relationships between parents and children, that's a human experience. But I want to make sure, because I'm the one who always centers Blackness in the context of that human story. The problem is that for us as Black folks, members of the diaspora, when we experience the human experience, then the world weaponizes it against us. And so when we have children that are growing up in homes where there's no father, it's like, oh, you ain't got no father in the home and you this and you that. But when it happens to other cultures and communities, the backlash is not the same. And so I think that's what I feel like, that's what I'm trying to bring up is, yes, this is something that happens on the regular, but when it happens to us, then the conversation differs in so many ways.
And can I say one thing, Tony? To piggyback off Ezekiel, we do speak about that in the play in terms of called the walk-in blues. Troy, Bono, and Lyons have a conversation about that, Ezekiel. So yeah, that's spot on, the walk-in blues, where men will leave their families and start a whole nother life. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And so,
Excuse me.
to say that I am just overjoyed with this conversation, because once we were talking outside after the play, and I was like, hey, we got to get this on the air. One of the things I wanted was to have this conversation that the community can hear it, the community can get involved with it, but also that we could point to certain things that are still happening within the community, especially the Black community. Somewhere in Little Rock right now, this is going on. This conversation is going on. This thing is going on. And I think one of the things that Fences does is allow in this conversation, allow you to open the fence, allow you to tear the fence down and have this conversation. Because if not, what you had is people in the family, or men and women standing on either side of the fence, yelling across the fence, right? Yes, pointing and said this. But if you take the fence away, now we can interact in a better, because the fence is that barrier. And I think what happens when you start talking about how men act, how women act, some of the things women do, some of the things that men do, it's a barrier there. It's a fence there, because the fence gives you that opportunity to say what you want to say and not truly come into real interaction. And once you tear that fence down, then you can have that interaction. And that's what understanding comes in. And I think part of what August Wilson was trying to do is say, hey, listen, you have to take away whether it's male toxicity, whether it's patriarchy, whether it's matriarchy, whether it's all this other blues, all this stuff. Can you just take it away and have an open discussion about who I am, who you are, the society we live in, and the things that have happened to us to uh, make us who we are, or help, as Ezekiel said, engineer who we are. Because believe me, personally, everything that was happening in fences, that's my life.
Right.
I can relate to all of it. There's not one part of it that I could not center myself and go, damn. I know how that feels.
Well, I want
It's
to reintroduce, go ahead.
There were so many nuggets in this. I dissected it. I have a degree in sociology, and I'll finish another degree in my MSW.
Okay.
So we dissect this kind of stuff all the time. I mean, if you look at Lyons was not raised in the house, and he didn't have his father. In their conversation with Bono, Lyons, and Troy, they're talking about some of the men, the walkaway blues and some of them, and Lyons was like, yeah, walk away, because he didn't have a dad there. And so that little nuance, like when I noticed that, and I was just like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. His views are skewed because he didn't have him there. No matter how messed up he is, his views are skewed because he didn't have Troy in his life until like later on. And Troy's trying to, impart in him some things. And that's when he's like, no, I'm not going to just give you money. And I understand that part. So I do. And I'll say this, and before I get off of here, because I say a lot, I could not imagine myself not doing this part without Dion. Like this was the
You can see the chemistry. You can see
Yeah, you can.
because it was different. Because it was different when I went on the matinee. It was different actors and actresses,
yes.
and so you can see that you can tell the difference. But I want to reintroduce Bono to the conversation because it's one of his lines where he says that there's sometimes that you want the fences to keep people out. But for Rose, she also wants to keep some things in. And so Denise, I don't want to tear down every fence because I don't want everybody in my intimate space. I want to know that we have a village here. I want to know that we are building a family where we are all committed to the same thing. I want to know that we can stand just against the world together as a family. I want to know that this right here, what we are cultivating, matters and it means something. So I don't want you to tear down every fence.
And just to piggyback, she brought him up, not me. Bono is a good man. He's a great representation of a man. He's a loyal husband, X, Y, and Z. She brought him up, not us. I mean, but he's a good dude.
I do not mind, like, and I think a big number of Black women want to support our Black men and make them great. But the moment you tear us down, you break that, you create this division, you put that fence up, and now it's me against you. But we start off, we come out with our hearts are just wide open and vulnerable. And every time Troy is vulnerable, he gets tough. He doesn't have to be vulnerable with Bono. He didn't even have to be vulnerable with that trollop of Alberta. But when he did have to be vulnerable with Rose, his son, and that's when he did the tough love. And anytime he had to be soft or open, he used tough love. But with them, he didn't have to do that. And then that happens a lot. And there's this thought that Black women have to be strong all the time. We have to, that's
It's a whole syndrome.
There's a syndrome that we're okay to take these things, but we should be cared for. And no, you're not going to stand in front of me and tell me that you're destroying my life and then be nasty about it. And then the next day tell me, yeah, whatever. And then when you come to yourself, oh, well, will you help me?
And then expect the answer to be yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But I want to just say this for the woman that you called a trollop. As the other woman, so many times in my life, as the quote unquote mistress, so many times we are real women too. We are humans too. And let me just talk for Denise. I ain't break up your home. Whatever y'all had going on was going on. That had nothing to do with Alberta. That had to do with y'all. So don't try to put the blame on Alberta about what was going on in y'all's house, because if Troy was going to be the man that he wanted to be, or that Rose wanted him to be, he would have stayed committed. So you can't blame her for none of that.
So are you saying there was already disruption in the home?
I'm saying she's telling you that. Rose is telling you that. I'm already feeling like you're treating me like a child. I'm already feeling like my dreams are being buried in you. I'm already feeling like the way you handle my son is not the way I always want you to. I'm already bringing in your other child. I'm already trying to take care of your brother. I'm already
doing all of these things. But I will say this, uh, it takes this man to break up the relationship. So that's where it was. However, she did not come into this not knowing what she was doing. So when the word trollop was thrown out there at her, it was out of this trollop, calling her, look, you shouldn't have been over here. Not that she's the cause,
I
but she
wasn't over
still
there.
is what
He
it
was
is.
over here.
But also,
I wasn't over there. She didn't even know what I looked like. Rose didn't even know what Alberta looked like.
She didn't. But did she know that she was cheating with a married man? Because
We don't
he
know
can't-
that because sometimes
he
they
can't
lie,
spend
just
the
like
night-
we lie.
Because he can't spend a night at your house. He can't give you 100. He's only giving you the part that he likes. He's giving you
And
20, and while Rose was getting 80.
But you know what? That's the lie y'all tell. Because there are many of us, again, those of us who have played this role, who have performed, whatever y'all want to call it. You can't spend a night in my house because I won't allow you to. That
Really?
I
Really?
control. I control.
So
it.
you
I
let
have
him,
the
you let him
power.
in your house, but you won't let him in your house.
Yes.
I don't think so.
I
don't believe that.
my life.
And I had the other side of the life.
So
see, this is what I like. this is what I like because now, and I think going back, I keep saying this. That's the brilliance of this play.
Yeah.
Because it opens doors that you didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And now that door is open, you got two choices. You can step through that door to try to understand, or you can like, man, I ain't, and that's what happens, I think, when you start to look at Rose and Troy, the character of Rose and Troy. I think there were times where Rose was trying to connect with Troy and tell him some things. I think Rose was trying to tell Troy about some things she felt, but Troy would shut her down. So it got to a point where Rose said, I'm not going, just forget it. I'm not going to try to go through that door. And see, that's what I'm talking about. You talk about defense. Sometimes you got to open the door to have that conversation. Troy, it was difficult for him to have that conversation because of who he was. And it was hard for him to understand what Rose was saying because in his mind, there's a certain perception of what Rose was and what Rose did. Rose was trying to have the conversation with Troy because Rose, and me and Denise have this conversation all the time because I could see with Lyons, he was sensitive. He was more sensitive. No, Corey was more sensitive to a lot of different things. And so me and Denise always talk about feelings, emotions, and facts or logic. It's some things that Rose were in her, that she had feelings about, that if she would have like, let me get out my feelings, because in the end, she got out her feelings. So now I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you some things. Troy would never get in his feelings. So he was always talking in reality. This is what you got to do. What, you playing football? You need to go get you a job. See, that was his reality. And I think that's what happens, especially in the Black community, is that you can't bridge the gap between what's emotional and feelings and what's reality. Because at some point in time, what Wilson did is he brought all those feelings, their emotions, and everything into reality where now you got to face it. And sometimes we don't want to face it. And that's, like I said, that's what I love about this play. The brilliance of it is that you have all these different things going on. But at some point, even with the funeral, there was a reality that Corey had to face. He had to get out his feelings to come to reality. And sometimes it's difficult for us to do, men and women to do, because men are taught we have to reason. Women are taught, you have to be loving. And when you hear that word loving, you think emotion, you think feelings. And when you hear that word reason, it comes to us that, well, I have to be the decision maker. No,
Exactly.
no. Because if you're able to flow, like you're supposed to, it does not matter. It does not. Why does it matter who wear the pants in the family? Why does it matter who pays the bills? Why does it matter who cleans the house? As long as it gets done.
It matters who pays the bills.
Oh, it does.
Yes, it does.
I just, but I do, no, but I do,
But she meant that.
no, but I do think it matters because of the way we've been programmed and conditioned about, especially men, about who can make the money. Because a lot of times in my life, when the woman makes more money, a lot of men have a problem with it. So it does matter who pays the
But
bills.
that's what I'm saying. It really should matter.
Stuff
This is what I love. This is what I love. So, like I said, back to the brilliance of it. So we had, and I think this is really, I think he wrote with the desire for understanding. But what it shows, what we're showing basically is just how difficult understanding can be. Let me show you why. So we had this conversation here. It became men versus women. And we talked and we tried to hear it, but we didn't like your point. So I'm gonna give you mine. I don't like your point, I'm gonna give you mine. And it was there for a while. Then it shifted to the faithful wife and the other woman. We sat back. We didn't have to say a word because now it was, let me give you my point of view. This is what, well, let me give you my point of view. So I think understanding is the challenge for all of us.
Yes.
Because you see here, we had this conversation. There's no end to this, men and women. And then between the wife and the other woman, there is no, but everybody has a point of view. And at no point did either conversation come near to a resolution. That's why I think understanding is a challenge. I think we have our sides, we have our points, but if we think so much about our own points and not try real hard to listen, even though we don't like it, we'll never be able to come to an understanding.
How many conversations are there between the man and the other man?
What do you mean?
Like there was the woman and the other woman. How many conversations are there with the man and the other man?
The husband and the other.
That's the whole point.
Oh,
No. You're right. There won't be.
right. So there's
It's called-
grace given for men,
No.
and there's no really.
Where that won't be. Not say grace.
Why won't there be?
No, she's asking if there's grace.
Why won't there be another? Why won't there be a conversation between the man, the husband, and the other man?
We don't do that.
No, we don't. We don't.
But there was an expectation for that woman. So in these
What
scenarios,
That she will deal with.
that I would deal with, that the woman would deal with that.
Right. No. I understand that. But that's anybody.
What's
Anybody. That's
It's not.
That's
Just saying it wasn't men.
That's no. That's parent to child. That's
But not man to man.
You mean for me to get
It
from
won't
there?
happen here, but it can be expected to happen here.
No, the whole point I'm making is there is no understanding. There probably won't be any understanding here either. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you expected to understand her. I didn't say that. I just said that's the hard thing to do. It would be hard for me to understand why he would sleep with my wife.
There's a conversation here
Right.
because we're trying to work it out. Because at the end of the day, she wants the man, she wants the man.
It-
But there won't be a
No.
conversation between the two of you.
But I don't think there's a conversation to work it out between y'all. Like as far as who wants the man and who wants the guy.
but I do want to say this is we don't always want the man
Yeah, right.
because this is how I feel. If he cheated on you, the wife, what would make me think that he wouldn't do the same thing with me? So when we talk about can he spend the night in my house? No, I'm not giving my whole self over to somebody who's not willing to commit to his own life with his wife.
I get that, but that wasn't
Yeah.
the point that I was making. I was saying that a woman, especially mainly in speaking a black woman, she always has to deal with
Yes,
the
but before
scenario.
we were talking
whatever.
about power, when you were saying you don't want him in you want him in your house, and I said we don't
Yeah.
want him to spend the night, and you're
Yeah.
like, I don't believe that. When I said some of us don't want him to spend, that's why he doesn't spend the night. He's like, oh no, I don't believe that. And so
That's-
now you're saying she wants him, and I'm saying that going back to
That's
what
a different
I'm
show.
only underscoring what Troy is saying. Every person that's a part of the conversation has their own perspective. And so the question becomes through August Wilson, how do we build and dismantle the necessary fences that allow us to figure this thing out so that we can function with it? You might not understand it 100%, but can we navigate? Because I think that's what Rose did. She didn't understand 100% why he had to go out and be with Alberta, especially after he himself said, I know you're the best wife I ever could have had. So why would he do that? But yes, she did say, listen, this child, just like you said, is innocent. We're going to work this part out.
On that point,
Mhm.
we're past time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
This has been, I want to thank you, Deion Burke. I want to thank you,
Burns,
Belinda,
Divine.
Divine. Boy, this been so, I'm forgotten. Thank you, Keith Harper.
Yes, sir.
This has been a great conversation, and I hope you understand why I could not leave it at 10 o'clock where it was. I think the flow was there that it had to go on. I think the 3 days that we get out of this conversation today, out of this show, is that number one, there has to be an understanding. Try to find an understanding, and as Denise said, to build fences or dismantle fences. The second thing is that we have to understand how the system, especially the system of racism, the system of inhumanity has shaped the Black family to where it is. And we also have to understand that we do have the ability to pivot and change and make different choices, based on the humanity that we are. So it's
Can they have a last word?
Just real quick, yeah, last word. But to the winners, just say your name tonight at the box office, and we got your ticket. 7:30 p.m. is showtime. 1601 Louisiana Street.
and yes, I was gonna give everybody.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
That's where. Yeah.
Okay, well, I've enjoyed it, thank you.
Oh, y'all coming back next? We gonna have y'all back next Thursday.
Oh my
If y'all are open next Thursday, y'all are free next Thursday.
Wow.
This, this man, we might have to have y'all on for a month. This conversation.
It is, it's a good conversation to have, I think, in order to really come to a resolution, you have to be able to look at the hard truth and do it with an open heart for understanding. It's not always possible, but it can be, and it can be done, I think. But I think that's what this play does. And I think we all as a team do a great job of
Oh, absolutely.
putting it all out there on the table for you to really see what's going on. That's why I'm grateful to August Wilson for his work. And I'm glad that Keith called and said, hey, audition for this. You might be good for it. And so I'm glad for that. So thank you very much. Okay.
Oh, boy, that we have to wrap all of this up, but I will say I'm so pleased with the cast. I'm so pleased that I was cast opposite Dion. That was the best choice. Keith, my goodness. I look at Keith, I'm older than Keith is, but I kept looking at Keith like he was the dad. I was like, is he okay with this? Is he got, his vision. I'm just really proud of this entire work. This challenged me more than all the performances and shows and TV shows that I've ever done. This was my biggest challenge. And thank you for trusting me with this. And I appreciate you all for letting us come on here.
No.
And so Rose can tell her truth.
You had to get that in, Denise.
If we want to live in a world that is more just, more equitable, more peaceful, more inclusive, we have got to learn how to live and love differently.
So this is my last word. And so for those of you who have been listening over the past almost over 6 years to Community Voices in the workplace, Community Voices where Denise is the host and I'm the co-host. Workplace where I'm the host and Denise is the co-host. Talking about this whole conversation that we're having today can be summed up in how me and Denise has interacted on our shows. We couldn't understand each other to begin with. I didn't like her.
Believe it. I can believe it.
Yeah, I didn't like her. She didn't like me. It would be, to be honest with you, there were times I walked out the studio.
Don't forget to turn the headphones
Put
out.
the headphones and walked out the studio. And the reason why, going back to that door that opens, the door would open for understanding. I didn't like the words coming out on the other side of the door. So I'm slamming the door. I ain't going into that. And I think that's what happens when you talk about men and women. Sometimes that happens. But the great thing, going back to the brilliance of August Wilson in this play, is that it came a point in time where we both took the opportunity to say, let me understand. Let me try to understand. I might not understand everything. Yeah. But I may not like what, how the person moves and operates, but let me find common ground that we can discuss to make each other better. And that's why, if you look all these years later, our shows, people want to listen to our shows because of that development, because of that change. And I think that's the thing that everybody should take away from the show today. If you're willing to try, if you're willing to try, change can happen, understanding can happen, and a different perspective. You can understand the other person's.
All right, bring us home, Pastor. Bring us home.
We still don't like each other, but but we can understand each other's perspective. I want to thank everybody for calling in today. I want to thank everybody for who kept listening. Like I said, it was something that I felt needed to go on. Don't forget the Players Drive. Don't forget to go see this play, Princess. I want to thank everybody. Have enjoyed the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Peace out.
Hashtag Rose.